What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Spider-Man on PS4 and trying to just reply to the question, is it really downgraded? Because right now, I'm kind of losing my mind that there's so much disinformation out there. A lot of what people are saying is flat out wrong and I don't think they realize it. I don't think that there are people out there that are trying to lie about this game. It's the fact that most reviewers are afraid to even talk about it. So full disclosure, I am currently reviewing the game and actually my video is almost done at this point, but until that comes out, I want to try and keep a little bit loose on my general impressions of it, but I will say, if you've pre-ordered the game, you're not wrong. But okay, so anyways, let's talk about the big issue at hand, which is the graphical downgrade. So just a couple days ago, there were a lot of screenshots going around that were comparing it to some of the trailers in 2017 and even stuff from early 2018 and now. And now it's a little bit of a confusing case because I just want to say up front that I definitely think that there were some things that have been changed. So at this point, I've basically beaten the entire story and done a lot of the side quests. And I feel like I never once thought that the graphics were bad. Not at all. The city itself is very vibrant and full and has lots of stuff going on. And I never really felt myself motivated to stop and stare at individual objects and start counting pixels. I have done that in certain games in the past, but typically it's when the environments start to feel sparse. But this is just such a fast game and such a fluid game. I'm not really moving at such a slow pace that I get a chance to really analyze the graphics. But looking at some of the side-by-side comparisons from trailer to final product, I do think that it's quite obvious that there was a graphical change, and it may not have been for the best. So I think what ended up happening is, a lot of times in these video games, they end up creating this graphics engine that is in the final product, but is not the exact same system on how it's run. Now, let me unpack what that means. So let's talk about Left 4 Dead for a second. That's one of my favorite games ever, and I've put probably 1,000 hours into playing it with my friends. But if you look at the original trailers and first teasers versus what the game looks like, there is a little bit of disparity. It's hard not to notice the fact that things are definitely different. But what's interesting is both of these are actually running on the same engine. They actually even bragged about the fact that this is an in-engine cutscene. But here's the thing. What they end up doing a lot of times for these cutscenes is they remove everything else in the universe except for what you will see in that trailer. Basically, whenever a game is trying to run, they have to have tons and tons of stuff trying to guess what you're going to do next. A game's frame rate a lot of times is tied to trying to predict the next 50 things you might do. It's not about just trying to have the game look bright and gorgeous. It's about trying to render, is he about to punch? We need to start rendering that punch. Is he going to look left and right? We need to start going ahead and rendering all the environments that exist to the left and right. So basically, if you remove all those extraneous features, your game is going to understandably look a little bit overly shiny. And that's the thing that really stuck out to me the most is some of this stuff here in the trailer. I guess we shouldn't have even thought it was going to be in the game. Like, let's look at the most glaring example, the one that people are passing around the most, the Puddlegate picture. So in it, Spider-Man is on a roof, he's overlooking a couple thugs that he's about to pound into the pavement, and if you notice, there is a ton of shiny water effects across this puddle. It is so reflective, it's almost like a mirror, which is interesting because in real life, that's sometimes how things look. If you have a really clear puddle on a really dark surface, it is going to have that nice, cool, shimmery effect. Whereas in the final game, not only is there less water, but the shimmer effects are quite different. The thing that sticks out to me the most, though, is that it seems like they've decided to completely overhaul Spider-Man's general look. If I had to describe it, throughout the experience playing the game, I think that more than anything, it has a look that I would refer to as fuzzy. Now, I don't mean that in a negative sense, but it definitely has a thing where it seems almost like somebody put some sort of weird film filter over it and then turned down the resolution slightly. Because now, Spider-Man just has a very, very slight washed out look to him. In certain scenes I was playing through, I definitely noticed that his outfit in general definitely seems to be like, it seems like they decided to go in at the last minute and try and alter it to just feel a little bit different, to look a little bit different in motion. Because originally in a lot of these trailers, things were actually slower than the final game is. They definitely wanted to make it where you got a better example of just how epic every fight and every swing of your fists is going to be. But in the final game, it doesn't really look like this because things are so brutally quick. I mean, not to spoil any of the boss fights, but some of the encounters I've gotten in, I'm literally pulling off combos so lightning quick, it's almost impossible to even see him since it's just bam, 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 web sling, I'm doing my special uppercut kick, and then I'm trying to grab somebody in midair and then web sling him down to the ground. Like, everything about the game is just speed, speed, speed. So I can understand that it was probably impossible to make him have this shimmery latex style look in the final game. Now, is it a downgrade? I guess I really want to try and approach the main question here, and I do think that downgrade is probably a correct term for it, because it's definitely not in the exact same vein, but several games have had this happen. I mean, there was a big controversy around Witcher 3 back in the day, because Witcher 3 ended up having very different environmental textures from the trailers to the game. People were even actually zooming in on particular trees and stuff and showing the fact that in the trailers, individual leaves were blowing in the wind, and you got a chance to really see this really stark, almost photorealistic glimpse into his world. Whereas the final game definitely highlighted the action and writing more than just how good things looked. So I guess that really what kind of sticks with me the most is the fact that it's strange that everybody is so fixated on the graphics of this. And if anything, I feel like this is something that is part of the hype cycle in general when it comes to games now, which is that every game that comes along, people get so excited about that they start to hyperanalyze every single trailer, trying to find every hint and every spoiler as quick as we possibly can. And we end up kind of creating this illusion of a game in our minds. That's why I find it very interesting the fact that some games that are being advertised right now, like Cyberpunk, are just putting a giant banner in their videos that says, "This is an early build. It may not be the final game. The final game may be completely different." I really feel like if developers are smart, they should start doing this a lot more often. I think that Spider-Man PS4, I got a lot to say. When the game comes out, when my review is released here in a couple days, I have a ton I gotta rip into. But I want to say that talking about the graphics is literally the one thing that should not be a topic. There are so many things that have been done with combat and exploration and side quests that is so important and I almost said an adjective. There's so much stuff that's done with this game that is so much more important than how fuzzy Spider-Man's costume is. But I feel like all of this is a very interesting example of the fact that games are definitely being sold very differently now than they have been in the past, where almost every trailer is basically like a movie trailer. It's probably going to be, to some degree, at least 15% misleading. You need to try and analyze the gameplay over everything else. You know, when they were announcing Dead Island for the first time, they had a really dramatic slow-mo cutscene of this child falling out of a window, and it was super dramatic and epic. And you know what? It had nothing to do with that dumpster fire of a survival game. And I feel like you need to start to try and take a step back and realize, what do you want to play? What kind of game are you looking for? Because really, at the end of the day, that's what's more important than trying to count the glistens on a puddle. But these have just been my 2 cents as somebody who's been playing a ton of Spider-Man and a ton of actually this game, which is Valkyria Chronicles 4. I'm actually pretty far into the game. I've almost beaten this. And you know what? Sega actually lets me show games before release. Unlike Sony, Sony will delete videos if you even show a start screen before the game is out. But these have just been my 2 cents. What do you think about it? As somebody who's just been looking at the screenshots and such, what do you think is... how severe do you think this downgrade is? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. I don't know, I'm a little bit afraid that this video is going to end up on like the front page of Reddit. Look, these are just my thoughts. And I'll have a lot more to say soon. It's driving me nuts that I can't say what I need to say. Okay, go watch my review. It'll be ready soon. Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.